Guten Tag and welcome to PA Dutch 101. This is video 19 in our series and we'll be covering the grammar topic known as the present progressive. If you have not seen our previous 18 videos, I would advise you to go back, watch those first, especially the video entitled verb conjugation or conjugating verbs. That's going to be really important to understand what's going on in this video. So, having said that, let's get right into it. Present progressive. As we covered in video number 7 of our series, all verbs conjugate in the present tense. Remember that? That's where we took that last E off of the end of the verb, and then we had a series of endings. Remember doing that? When I said that that's how we conjugate our verbs. Well, that's still true, but we're going to be building on that a little bit today. Having said that, similar to English, Pennsylvania Dutch does have two present tense forms. In English, we do this all the time, so this might make a lot of sense to you as an English speaker, if you are an English speaker watching these videos. We take the sentence, Sarah plays the piano. We agree that that is a present tense sentence in English. We've conjugated our verb to play. Sarah plays the piano. But in English, we can also say, Sarah is playing the piano. And I think you'll find that most Americans and most English speakers tend to use this over this. So the present progressive is going to feel maybe more natural to you. We'll find out. So both of these we can agree are happening in the present time, right? It's not past tense, it's not future tense. It's happening right now. She plays the piano, she is playing the piano. Now there is a slight difference between these two sentences in English. In the first sentence, there's a sense of repetition. Sarah plays the piano. We could add anything onto that, like every Friday, for example. That sentence, Sarah plays the piano, isn't set in time, so to speak, if we think of it that way. We could put on there, Sarah plays the piano every weekend. Sarah plays the piano on Tuesday. Sarah plays the piano in the month of February. Okay? It's not set. Where the second sentence, there is a sense of present action right at this moment. At this moment in time, Sarah is playing the piano. Okay? So, from a meaning standpoint, looking at those two sentences, I hope you can realize that the first one, Sarah plays the piano, does have a little bit of ambiguity, danke, wow, ambiguity, that it's not necessarily set in time, where at this one, Sarah is playing the piano has much more of a sense of right now she's doing that. Okay? So that's the difference between the two types in English, and it's going to be exactly the same in Pennsylvania Dutch. Okay? So, both of those forms we can use. The first one is what we covered in video 7. Sarah spielt die Grappa-Box. We took the verb spielen, to play, took the E away, added the T. Basic verb conjugation in the present tense. Sarah spielt die Grappa-Box. Sarah plays the piano. Okay? Now, take that same sentence and put it in what we're covering today, the present progressive, and this is what it looks like. Sarah ist die Grappa-Box am Spielen. Sarah ist die Grappa-Box am Spielen. When we compare the two sentences, what do you see different? Well, we're still using Sarah, we're still using our direct object, and we're still using the verb spielen, to play, but notice that in the second sentence it's moved. It's not in the second position like it is in the first sentence. And also notice the ending has changed. What else is different in the second sentence? Well, we've added is and we've added am. Okay, and that's going to be the key for forming the present progressive. Again, Sarah plays the piano, Sarah is playing the piano. And you'll notice that if you were going to do literally word for word translation, Sarah is the piano playing. Okay, so it's a little backwards from what we would say in English. Now, notice that they too differ. We talked about the differences in where the verb is located, what we've added, what we've changed to the verb, etc. Okay? And again, the first example, Sarah spielt die Grappa-Box, is what we discussed in video 7. The second is an example of this present progressive voice. So, using that, or acknowledging that, let's learn how to formulate sentences using the present progressive. Okay? So, when we want to do a present progressive sentence in Pennsylvania Dutch, we're going to use this following equation. Now, it depends if what you're talking about is singular or plural. Now, don't get scared by all these extra things I'm throwing at you. It's actually quite simple. When using the present progressive in Pennsylvania Dutch, we're going to start with our subject. We're going to have a conjugated form of the verb sigh. Look at the video on sigh or irregular verbs if you don't remember how to conjugate that. Other stuff, like in that sentences, was the piano. If it is singular, like piano singular, then it'll go there, the word and then whatever your verb is. Okay? So, subject, a conjugated form of sigh. Your other stuff, if it's singular, and then the verb. Okay? Now, if the other stuff in your sentence is plural, follow this equation. Subject, conjugated form of sigh. Look, the moves in front of our other stuff, if it's plural, and your verb goes at the end. So for the most part, they're almost exactly the same. The only thing that's different is that the moves. So if your other stuff is singular, it goes behind it. If your other stuff is plural, it goes in front of it. And you'll get used to hearing that and getting used to using it to the point where you won't even think about it anymore eventually. Okay. Here's an example where we have the piano, that's singular, so we use this formation. Die Sarah ist die Klapperbox am Spielen. But here's an example of one with plural. This time our other stuff, I chose the word Grumbiere, potatoes, plural. So, der Steve ist am Grumbiere esse. Steve is eating potatoes. So the moves, yeah? Der Steve ist am Grumbiere esse. Grumbiere is plural, so the goes in front of it. We use the second equation. Okay? Another example, this is am rera. It is raining. Now we just covered rera on the previous video on weather, I believe. So here's an example of what it is when we're using it in the present progressive. It is raining. Sis is a combination of s plus is. You'll see that a lot. I think I made mention of that in a previous video. Whenever you want to say it is something, s is. A lot of times the Dutch speakers will contract those two words with an apostrophe, just s-i-s. Sis amrera. You see the that gives it away, that's the present progressive. Here's another example. This one's plural. Sie sind am Quarter spielen. Sie sind am Quarter spielen. They are playing cards. Cards is plural, so the goes in front of it. And they are. Sie sind. Okay? So there are examples of the present progressive voice, or present progressive formation in Pennsylvania Dutch. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I tend to use the present progressive sometimes more often than the regular verb conjugation. I will most definitely say sisam rera instead of es reat. That's what I go to first. Probably because that's what the people who taught me Pennsylvania Dutch, my grandparents, my parents, that's what they would have said as well. You'll find Pennsylvania Dutch speakers that use this form a lot, so it's good to learn and it's good to get used to hearing it. Okay? Just like we would say it more often in English, it is raining as opposed to it rains outside. That just sounds funny to us as English speakers because we so often want to say, it is raining, sisam rera. Okay? It's not wrong to say es reat. It's not wrong to say sie spiel a quarter. It means exactly the same thing. It's the difference between that possibility of happening on a repetition as opposed to currently, presently in the time. But most Dutch speakers, given also the English influence that we have, is going to go with the present progressive. Okay. Good bit of the evening. Using what we talked about, let's practice a little bit. So, translate the following sentences using both normal conjugation and the present progressive. So I want you to do each one twice. Do it the way we learned in video 7, and then do it the way we covered in this video today. So here's an example. My uncle is singing, and the verb for singing is singe, a song, es lied. So, pause the video, figure out what that would be, both forms, hit play, and I'll tell you in a second. Your answer should be, for the first part, my onkel singt en lied. My onkel singt en lied. Because zingen is our verb, conjugated for my onkel, put a T on the end, and lied is song, neuter. We want a form, the indefinite article, so en lied. That's a good practice of your accusative case. What would it be in the present progressive? My onkel is en lied am zingen. Lied is singular, so the am goes after it. My Onkel ist ein Lied am Singen. Okay? Now, in this situation, I think personally, I would probably say this over this, but both are acceptable. You'll quickly realize that there's going to be certain situations where you're going to tend to prefer the present progressive over the regular verb conjugation. And there's no rule, it's personal preference more than anything else. My Onkel singt ein Lied is what I would say over my Onkel ist ein Lied am Singen, but both definitely work. Okay, there's nothing wrong with either of them. Here's another one. The dog, der Hund, is sleeping, and the verb for sleeping is schlafen. Schlafen. Der Hund and schlafen. So pause the video, figure out both this way, and then hit play, and we'll see what you got. If you did it correctly, the first sentence would be der Hund schläft. Der Hund schläft. Or der Hund ist am Schlafen. Der Hund ist am Schlafen. Okay? Again, both are acceptable. In this case, I think I tend to say this one over that one. But again, it depends on the situation. But if I walked into a room and saw a dog sleeping in the corner, for example, I'd say, oh, der Hund ist am Schlafen. The dog is sleeping. Or if someone asked me, was macht der Hund? What's the dog doing? I'd say, ach, der Hund ist am Schlafen. As opposed to der Hund schläft. But both are okay though. Okay. So there you go. That's present progressive in a nutshell. Learn how to do this. It's an important sentence building formation in Pennsylvania Dutch that is used quite often. So again, feel free, emails, complaints, concerns, questions, or ideas for future videos to busterpa@yahoo.com. But for now, bis die nächste Video. Mach's gut und schwätz Deutsch.